Glen Grabowski here, with a few more random thoughts for you to randomly think about. A lot of talk has been going on about getting involved in serving, both at church and throughout the community. And while I'd like to try to get involved in doing this, I just don't think it's a good idea. You see, I don't think I'm spiritual enough to get involved. Now I know that that might come as a surprise to you because you look at me and say, hey, there's a snappy dresser with bowling shirts and an assortment of Packer hats. Unfortunately, I'm not as polished on the inside as I am on the outside. And therefore, I think I struggle a little spiritually, a little too much so to get involved in serving. But don't just take my word for it. Let me give you a few examples. For starters, everybody knows that to be really good at serving in the church, you need to have been a Christian for a long, long time. And I've only been a Christian for a few years. Second, while I do know a lot of the basics about being a Christian, I'm certainly no theologian like my good friend Brian Sonderman. People like that know all of the tough answers to all of the tough questions that anyone might be willing to ask them. Now that's not the case for me. Like I said, I know the basics, but when it comes to some of the books like Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, or most of the Old Testament prophets, and definitely Revelation, I'm a little fuzzy about what's going on there. And I'd hate to give somebody a wrong answer or not be able to answer the question at all. Next, a lot of the really spiritual people not only know the right answer to the questions, but they can find the exact verse to answer the question for people in case the person asks them. Now I do know that John 3:16 is an important verse that talks to us about Jesus, and it's not just something that you can put onto a sign or poster to get noticed while an extra point or field goal is being kicked at a football game. However, other than that, my memory's not too good, and I haven't been able to memorize that many Bible verses. Next is prayer. Really spiritual people always get their prayers answered. Now I do try to pray pretty much every day. However, I'm not always that effective. For example, a few months ago there was a rumor going around that good old number 4 was going to be retiring from the Green Bay Packers. When I heard this rumor, I immediately dropped to both knees and began praying and praying and praying a little more. Unfortunately, my prayers were not answered, and Brett Favre has retired. Next, most really spiritual people are able to perform miracles. Now, I have never performed a miracle to the best of my knowledge, unless you consider the fact that I was able to graduate from high school in 4 years, and I have bowled multiple 300 games throughout my bowling career. Most people wouldn't consider these miracles, so I fall short here too. Speaking of my multiple 300 bowling games, of which I have thrown multiple of them I'm very proud of the fact that I have done that. Unfortunately, from what I do know in the Bible, pride comes before the fall. And I'm not just talking about the bowling pins falling, I'm talking about spiritually falling. So again, I fall short here. Finally, as I look at it, it seems like I've never actually been asked to be involved in a leadership position at church. Probably because of all the things I've just mentioned to you. It seems like the leader people are the really spiritual people. And as far as I'm concerned, I guess that means that, well, they should be the ones doing all the service. Well, these have been random thoughts by Glen Grabowski for you to randomly think about. Thank you very much, and have a good day.